Alright, welcome back. Another Palm Masters video, and with the, well, I guess January ending, right, soon, probably. And also me having, like, a very small amount of time on my hands right now. By small amount of times, I mean, 40 minutes, so hopefully I could get all this done in 40 minutes. Let's talk about Kalos Villain Arc Part 2 and what we could potentially see in there. So, obviously, in terms of February, right, I mean, I guess it's not obvious, because sometimes they actually do get rid of certain seasonal events, because like last year, right, instead of the spring event, we got the new SE event instead, right? So it's not a guaranteed, but I'd say most likely, right, we're gonna be getting the Palantines next month, but also the Kalos Villain Arc Part 2, right? It should be Palantines first and then Kalos Villain Arc Part 2. And let's talk a bit about that, because Kalos is still missing a decent amount of its characters, and there's just a lot of possibilities in terms of where they could go with this, right? So when we are comparing, right, what we got in Kalos Villain Arc Part 1 to maybe some of the other villain arcs, right? So in Kalos Villain Arc Part 1, right, we got two characters, right? Which is obviously Singsu Diantha and also Shauna. So it's a Pokefair and a Spotlight. Was there any Part 1 villain arc that was like this? I don't think so, right? Johto was like 2 Pokefairs, I believe. Sinnoh was a Massifair and a Pokefair. In Hoenn, I believe it was 2 Pokefairs and 1 Spotlight, and then in Unova, I think it was 2 Pokefairs and a Spotlight as well, right? I think it was something like that. But you know, it's so in terms of like the rarity of the banner, well, that's I don't know if that's a good way to, but like just in terms of the combination of banners, Kalos so far has like the lowest combination in terms of like, you know, it only has 2 banners, 1 Pokefair, 1 Spotlight, right? The other, you know, villain arcs who only had like 2 units drop in the first half generally had a bit more. I guess I guess outside of I was about to say Kanto, but not really. Kanto did drop 2 Pokefairs first, and then 2 Spotlights afterwards. So I could foresee a pretty heavy Part 2 for the Kalos Villain Arc, but also maybe a potentially lighter Part 2 of the Villain Arc, which could also be interesting, because on one hand, you would think Part 2 would be a bit heavier, just because like Part 1 didn't have like too much. But on the other hand, if you look at like some of the available units or / characters that could potentially appear in Part 2, it makes it so that like Part 2 of the Kalos Villain Arc might not be all that, right? So anyways, let's just first talk about some potential characters that could show up and be summonable in Part 2 of the Kalos Villain Arc, in terms of like new characters, right? So there are a few that would almost be guaranteed to come this year. Maybe not guaranteed in the Kalos Villain Arc, but I'd say there's a really good chance they will be in Part 2 of the Kalos Villain Arc. But I would say these 2 characters are almost guaranteed to at least come out this year, right? Again, might not exactly be in Part 2 of the Villain Arc, but there's a solid chance they would be in Part 2 of Villain Arc, but a near guarantee they're going to come out sometime this year. And the first one is Malva, actually, right? Most of all, like, just because, like, we do have, first of all, we do have the Malva model in the game now, right? And that's the thing with, the thing with Malva, like, in the story, she's probably the most prominent character so far in this Kalos Villain Arc story. Like, Lysander I don't even think has showed up yet. It's just like Malva's been doing stuff, right? And the big argument for Malva coming out, again, might not be in the second part, but like sometime this year at least, right, is we still don't have the Kalos Champion Stadium, and it's been a while since the last, you know, new Champion Stadium, right? I think the last one was Hoenn, I believe, and you know, it's been a few months. Been a few months since that, almost half a year, I want to say. If not, I think we're like, what, 1 month, 2 months, 1 month removed from like half a year of a new Champion Stadium. and Kalos is one of the only remaining ones, right? I think what we got, Kando, Jodo, Hoenn, Sinnoh, Unova, Alola, and I really don't know what they're gonna do with the Galar ones, like, cause the Galar, it's different, right? But like of all the ones that we are certain to get, right? Kalos is the last one, so far, right? Not counting obviously when they do start adding Scarlet Violet, all that stuff. And well, they need their Elite Fours, just like what they did with Sinnoh last year, right? They needed the Sinnoh Champion Stadium, and boom, 1 month they dropped 3 of the 4 Sinnoh Elite Fours, right? Or at least the last 3 that they needed. So there could be an argument that you could say, oh, Malva could come up, right, next month for part 2 of the Villain Arc. Could Malva be a Pokefair? If you're asking that, I'd say not very likely. I'd say she'd probably be more of a Spotlight, just because, like, it's not very common for Elite Fours to be Pokefairs. I don't recall anyone off the, yeah, I don't remember anyone off the top of my head being a Elite Four Pokefair, right? Let's see, let's also have Acquisition in here. Literally zero Elite Four Pokefairs, unless you want to like count like Lance or whatever, which, you know, his theme skill is champion, right? It just that hasn't happened before. There's been no Elite Four Pokefairs, so I'd say if Malva does come out, chances of her being Pokefair, I would say, is higher than most Elite Fours, right? Just because of Malva's position as also, you know, the admin or whatever. But it's also the case that admins have not been getting Pokefair treatment either. So maybe because she has this, you know, this dual sort of role for her, identity for her, maybe she could sneak into our first Elite Four Pokefair. But I'd say the chance of it being Spotlight is probably a bit higher, right, than not. And speaking of the other one, right, in terms of Kalos Elite Four, the other one obviously Drasna, right? And if you guys do remember, like, I think I did a video a while back on this, right, where there was like found that there was actually Drasna, no model, no voice lines, but there's like this file referencing Drasna. So Drasna was always, or has, I mean, let's be real, all these like major characters like gym leaders, pro tags, rivals, Elite Fours, champions, all this, obviously they were all eventually going to be in the game, right? But Drasna is also obviously the other Elite Four that they would need. And again, if she does come, a likelihood of her being a Spotlight, I would say, is a bit higher, right? As well, because I mean, it's Elite Four. Is it possible they make her Pokefair? Maybe, but not really. I mean, like Drasna, like is Drasna worthy, like a Pokefair worthy over like all of these folks? Probably not, right? Probably not. I don't think Drasna is like the biggest Elite Four either, right? Or more important, whatever you want to call it. I'd say, you know, like characters like Olivia or Caitlyn or Flint, right? Or even like Agatha have been more prominent in terms of their like status / popularity / all that stuff in terms of being Elite Four members. So I highly do doubt that Drasna would be a Pokefair either if she does come out. So those are the two that I feel like are the most likely. Again, it doesn't have to be next month, or they could do something like they drop Malva next month, right? And then they wait like another month, and then they drop Drasna, kind of like what they did with the Sinnoh Elite Four. Like, they didn't drop any of the Sinnoh Elite Four during the Sinnoh Villain Arc. I think they dropped them like after, I think 2 months later, 3 months later, something like that, right? So yeah, that's that. Yeah, they could do something where they split it, or they could do what they did with the Sinnoh Elite Four. Although I do feel like the chance of them both coming out next month is relatively high, just considering it's just been like such a long time between the champion stadiums, right? I mean, for like our last gap between the Sinnoh Champion Stadium and the Hoenn Champion Stadium was not that long, right? It was definitely not that long. It was under half a year, and now it's been like over half a year, or almost over half a year, right? So it would just make a lot of sense. The only thing that I would caution in terms of maybe why Kalos Elite or Kalos Champion Stadium might not come out next month is, like, for example, if they do drop both Drasna and Malva, again, do keep in mind, the first event of next month most likely is going to be Palentine's, right? And the part 2 of the Kalos Villain Arc probably won't start until mid, what was the month again? February, right? So like around like the 12th, 15th, something like that. And usually each cycle of the Champion Stadium just goes on for an entire month. They can't, or I guess they can, but they probably won't. I'd say very unlikely that they give us the Champion Stadium immediately at the start of the month when like Drasna and Malva are still not like summonable yet, right? Again, they could do that. You know, they just have the models added in. It's possible. I'd say it's not very likely. So I'd say, again, it's probably more likely they drop maybe one of them, and then like the other one, and of the two, I'd say Malva more likely, and then they drop Drasna like a month or whatever later, and then we'll get the Champion Stadium, I guess. Actually, or they could just drop them both and just have it start. Because yeah, they'll have like the models and all the stuff in there, right? That's, you know what, that was an iffy point. Anyways, moving on to some other characters other than Malva and or Drasna, right? The other two is, well, Tierno and Trevor, which are obviously, they are important characters, right? Even though no one cares about them, unfortunately. I always feel bad for these two, man. But I mean, you know, it is what it is. Definitely not two very popular characters that people care about, unfortunately. And I feel like that's kind of the knock against them in terms of, oh, these two are good. Tierno and Trevor are going to drop for part 2 of the Kalos Villain Arc. Is it possible? Yeah. Is it that likely? Probably not, right? Like, what's the least like popular / hype character they've dropped in like a villain arc so far? Colorus? Hugh? Looker? I don't know. Like, it's probably like one of those three, or maybe like Lucas. But like Lucas is a pro tag, like, you know, that's not nothing. Pro tags are generally a pretty big deal. Maybe if you want to say the Sing Suit Kanto gym leaders, right? Erica / Misty. But like, even the, you know, all that considered, or you could say Shauna, right? To then like drop these two in a villain arc, these two would be the new most, you know, unpopular characters dropped during a villain arc, and by quite a wide margin, right? I don't think any of these are close to being as popular as the least popular previous villain arc characters, right? And also, the other thing is they just dropped Shauna in part 1, and Shauna, unfortunately, also not that very popular either. So if they're gonna drop 3 spotlights, and are, you know, 3 spotlights of characters that are all pretty unpopular, I'm not sure how that would, you know, work out for them. Because do keep in mind, number 1 goal here is making money, and if people aren't pulling on banners, you know, they're not accomplishing their goal very well, right? And like 3 spotlights, and all 3 of the spotlights are rather unpopular. Like, sure, like if the spotlight was something like, you know, like for example, they dropped Courtney as a spotlight, right? You know, again, I still don't advise people to pull on spotlights like that, but like Courtney was at the time, like, definitely, if you wanted to pull on a, like, if you say, if there's ever an argument to pull on the spotlight, I'd say Courtney is pretty close to that, just because, first of all, it was a great unit, zone setter, spotlight zone setter, but also Courtney's just an insanely popular character, right? Okay, so dropping Courtney spotlight, that makes a bit of sense. Dropping Tierno, Trevor, and Shauna, even though it makes sense in terms of, oh, they're obviously part of the, you know, the main cast trio, or not even trio, well, I mean, those 3, they're a trio, but like with obviously Caleb / and Serena, right? What's the word for a group of 5 people? Anyways, whatever. I just don't think it's very likely. I just don't think it's very likely. Could they be like free characters? I don't even know. Although on one hand, it's like, oh, if they ever release them as banners, would people really pull for them? Unless they're just incredibly broken units, which okay, sure, maybe. But I don't know. It's just hard to see these two happening, even though it makes a lot of sense in terms of if you're trying to complete the Kalos cast, which obviously, again, Tierno, Trevor are pretty essential to the core Kalos cast, right? But yeah, anyways, so outside of that, in terms of other Kalos characters, do I think any of the Team Flare scientists, girls, or whatever, are they gonna happen? Probably not. Probably not. Look, I actually do like low-key like the Team Flare scientists, but I don't think, like, I'm pretty sure 90% of the Pokemon fan base can't even name like 2 of them off the top of their heads. So yeah, I'd say the probability of it being them, not very likely either. I suppose another big-ish character that they have yet to release for Kalos is Olympia. Just being like the last Kalos gym leader they haven't added yet. But I don't think it's really gonna happen. First of all, like, yeah, like of all the characters left, she is probably one of the bigger ones just because she's a gym leader. But on the hand, she is only just a gym leader and not a very significant one at that either. I'm sorry, Olympia, my psychic gym leader, but no. I don't think it's gonna be Olympia. The chances of Olympia happening aren't very high. But as for some other big Kalos characters, there's one very big one, like literally large, but also, you know, significance-wise, which is AZ. I mean, that's a big one, right? Here's the thing about AZ, though. We have almost no inkling or you know, any direct or even like indirect, like big references to AZ at all during the villain arc so far. And you'd think, you know, with a character this significant, maybe someone would have been talking about him already. Like, the only thing we do have, though, in terms of clues, is they did talk about an invisible Pokemon and a weapon, right? Which could leave us some clues, right? So what could the weapon be? Well, let's talk about the invisible Pokemon. In terms of Kalos Pokemon, right? If we're assuming it's a Kalos Pokemon, there's a few options for that. And I feel like one could be this one, Volcanion, right? Is Volcanion actually invisible? No. Is it even hard to spot when it's, you know, this large? Probably not really. But if they want to go with the, like, you know, lets out billows steam and disappears into the dense fog, and like it camouflages or hides itself through the fog. I guess. At least that's what Runner mentioned, so it could be one of the options for the invisible Pokemon, right? Like oh, he was just hiding in the steams, right, in the fogs or whatever, and that's why it's invisible, right? So a Volcanion could definitely be an option. In terms of who Volcanion could be paired with, right? I feel like it could be a Team Flare thing. Because again, Lysander has not shown up yet at all. So could it be possible that we're going to be getting like a Lysander Master Fair with Volcanion? Where, you know, that's why we didn't see Lysander so far, because he was hiding behind the Volcanion steams or whatever. Could be, right? Because, like, as much as Malva has been showing up, like, Lysander is the actual boss, right? And he has 0 appearances so far. Where is he hiding? How is he hiding? I guess probably could be the more appropriate question, right? So, yeah, Volcanion could definitely be one of those. I feel like the other one in terms of invisible, I guess it's like Hoopa again. It's, you know, it's not really invisible. It's just as soon as someone almost spots it, it's like it just hoops itself away. But I don't really know about Hoopa, man. Like, it's Lear's Pokemon, so I mean, Lear's already out. If you're thinking, what about Hoop Unbound? Well, first of all, Hoop Unbound is not very invisible. That thing is huge. And also, I do feel like if they are gonna do Hoop Unbound, they're probably just gonna be, they're probably saving it for something Lear related, right? Because Hoopa, again, it's deeply just tied to Lear, and I don't like, you know, he could, I guess, show up, but I don't really think Lear's probably gonna be much part of this Villain Arc thing, because do keep in mind, Lear is the main rival of the PML arc, and the main rival over here in the Villain Arc is Paulo, right? So Lear doesn't really show up too much in the Villain Arc. So if they are gonna do something with the invisible Pokemon thing, it could be Volcanion. In terms of the weapon, I mean, obviously, you know, the obvious one everyone thinks about is like Magiana, right? Or however you pronounce it. I actually don't know how to pronounce it. Could it be the original color? That could be cool. But yeah, probably, you know. Yeah, I mean that's what I'd say most people would think of immediately. What could it be paired with in terms of characters? I don't know. Could you see AZ having one? Probably not. Probably not. It'd be, I don't know, I just feel it would be weird if AZ doesn't end up with his Floette or something, right? I mean, what else does he have on his team again? Because he actually has like other Pokemon. Surprise. Outside of the Floette. Yeah. I feel like it would be a crime if it's not Floette, man. Oh, please give him his Floette back. You know, as attempted mass genocide. Anyways, so yeah, I mean, if they are talking about the weapon, I get, you know what, if they were talking about the weapon, maybe they could be referencing AZ. But yeah, AZ could be a big one. I feel like I've mentioned this before, but in terms of like any remaining unreleased characters that are like Master Fair worthy, right? Like debut, boom, Master Fair immediately. I would say AZ is probably the only one left with that sort of potential, right? Because like to have Master Fair status when you release immediately is kind of tough. But also, since Colorus got released as a Spotlight and Looker got released as a Spotlight, I'd say the chance of that happening is becoming smaller and smaller. I'd say like, I really don't think they're going to give us a Spotlight AZ. I think at least he'd have to be a Pokefair, right? Is it possible for us to have a Master Fair AZ with like a Floette? I'd say yes, but nowadays, again, just after seeing Looker and Colress, I'd say more likely it's probably going to be a Pokefair, right? AZ, which is fine. Because again, like, it's just very hard to debut as like Master Fair status, right? The only 4 units that debuted as Master Fairs are what, Leon, Maxie, Archie, and Ash, right? I'm pretty sure, unless I'm missing anyone else. But yeah, so one thing about the Kalos Villain Arc, I feel like is not gonna happen, might not happen. I won't say definitively, because this has happened with every single Villain Arc so far. Is that every single Villain Arc, one thing that has been a constant is that every single Villain Arc we've gotten an alt for one of the pro tags, or at least one of the pro tags. Most of the time, all of them. I guess the only one that didn't give all of them is Kanto. We only got red, right? Obviously no leaf there. But, well, I mean, they got blue, which is like half a pro tag. I don't know. He's the biggest, he's the most famous rival, okay? But outside of that, we've gotten, obviously, Lucas and a Donald, and then the 3 Johto folks, May and Brendan, Hilda and Hilbert, Rip Nate and Rosa. But I don't think it's happening for Kalos, just because we literally got a new alt, 2, you know, Massive Errors, right, for Calum and Serena just last month. So I don't think it's going to happen. But I don't think they're not going to do anything with the pro tags. So I feel like what they could do instead is they could potentially just rerun Sing Suit Serena, right? Because Sing Suit Serena has not come back yet. And if they do rerun her, she would be like what, the first Master Fair to get rerun under a year, because she came out like in the second half of the 2.5 anniversary, right? So she would get, well, I mean, to be fair, there also hasn't been that many Master Fairs. I mean, not really. Like, in terms of number-wise, there's been 5 Master Fairs that have been rerun, which is actually a decent amount. But, like, it's the 3 second Annie guys and, like, Maxie and Archie. So people usually group them together. So, like, maybe that's 2 instead of 5, right? But, yeah. Serena, if she does rerun, obviously still a fantastic unit, right? So that is a possibility if they do want to get some sort of pro tag presence in there, right, in terms of Master Fairs. So maybe they could do kind of what like Hoenn did. So instead of, oh, we're going to give you, 3 new Master Fairs like Johto, we're going to give you a few Poke Fairs here and there, and we'll rerun some of the Master Fairs, right? Which in this case would be Serena, which I don't find is that bad, just because, like, is Kalos down bad as a region? Well, I mean, honestly, at the moment, not really. But like, Kalos has 3 Master Fairs. Kalos has 3 Master Fairs, which is honestly a decent amount if you compare it to like a lot of the other regions, right? Unova has only 1, I believe, and like Unova is like the biggest region in the game, right? Just any, and I'm pretty sure there's no one else. Yeah. Like Unova only has 1. Galar has 1, right? I want to say, and like Kanto has only 2. So it's not even like Kalos is that down bad on Master Fairs. So does Kalos really need more Master Fairs? Probably not. Would it be nice for them to get more Master Fairs that are also very powerful? Like, okay, look, if they just give us a Master Fair and like it sucks, then that wouldn't matter that much. I mean, in the sense of improving, obviously, the roster for Kalos. But, yeah, I mean, 3 is pretty much the most. I mean, tied with, some other regions that have 3, right? Alola's 2. Hoenn has 3. Johto has 3. And Kalos has 3. So they're those 3 are tied for the most amount of Master Fairs, I believe. Unless I'm miscounting someone on Sinnoh? No. It's just 2 Cynthias. Yeah, so there might not be a new Master Fair. They might just rerun Singsuit Serena. And then, again, just attach some more Poke Fairs in there, whether it's like AZ or a Lysander alt, right? Which, speaking of alts, I guess we could kind of go over some potentials for alts as well, right? In terms of, if we could get a Poke Fair alt, slash potential Master Fair alt for like another Kalos character. Who could it be, right? Again, I feel like Lysander is the big one here. Lysander is definitely the big one here. I mean, we've gotten alts. We've gotten alt for Giovanni during the Johto Villain Arc, right? And we've gotten alt for Cyrus during the Sinnoh Villain Arc as well. So it's not, it's not like it's out of the question. Obviously, that is a pretty big possibility, and I feel like Lysander, since he has not shown up so far, and again, the potential theory about him hiding with Volcanion, I do feel like Lysander is a prime suspect for an alt, whether it's a Poke Fair, Master Fair, I'm not sure, right? But just a candidate for alt. As for anyone else, Kalos does not have that many like big characters, which is, why you see like honestly like 50% of like the strong Kalos units are either named Diantha or Serena. Right? Something like that. But yeah, obviously we just got a Diantha alt, and again we got Serena literally last month, Serena alt last month, and if they are rerunning Serena next, like I do not see them doing Serena again. Is it possible? Yes, it's not impossible, but the chance of that very small. Calum as well, even though he obviously does not have as many ults as Serena does. But like the other biggest Kalos character is Karina, which she did get an alt last year, right? Which does not disqualify her from getting another alt this year, but I know Karina's popular, but like, is she popular enough to get another alt? Maybe. I think it's possible. I mean, there are gym leaders that are less popular than Karina that has more alts, like Erica, right? I think Erica's less popular than, I'm pretty sure Erica's less popular than Karina, right? And obviously Erica's. Although, to be fair, like, people talk about like the Erica alts, but like, most of the Erica alts are just like regular Erica, but like free versions more than anything, right? So yeah, like it's just Sing Suit Erica that's like summonable and like actually like good. I mean, not that the other ones are like terrible or whatever, like right, like most of the Ericas are basically just like, it's just like free units, man. Okay, Holiday. Oh, you know what? I forgot about Holiday Erica. But I also did say good, so that also disqualifies Holiday Erica. But yeah, Lysander's the big one. There could be a potential for Karina. And outside of that, I feel like the next like big or / popular-ish Kalos character is probably Clement and Valerie. Clement is popular enough to get his own like 5-star spotlight banner, which is a lot more than a lot of other gym leaders, at least. So could Clement potentially get one? Maybe, although he doesn't have too much relevance so far in the story. And Valerie maybe as well. She did get a recent story appearance though, so I'm not like 100% sure how, like, you know, but Valerie is pretty popular, and for a relatively popular gym leader, having this as your only like representation in this game is really sad. So I do hope Valerie gets one. But I feel like the other one would be Sycamore, right? Could it be like a Sycamore Lysander showdown? Again. Sure, maybe, but also do keep in mind, like, Sycamore is also getting his like upgrade, which again didn't stop didn't stop Cyrus from getting another unit, so it's possible. But it would be nice, like, it would be cool if like part 2 of Villain Arc is like Lysander Volcanion versus Sycamore Magiarna. Would be definitely kind of cool to see. So yeah, anyways, those are just my few cents on what could potentially come in Kalos Villain Arc Part 2. Low-key, this guy, man, Seabold. First ever alt in the game. This guy got it. Well, I guess not first ever alt, because that would be like Sing Suit Brock or whatever, but like first summonable alt. Right. Random, not very popular Kalos Elite 4. Good for him, by the way. So well, that's been this one, I guess. Hope y'all let me guys think in the comments down below. Let me know what you guys think is going to happen part 2 of Villain Arc for Kalos. And hopefully it's good. Whatever it is, hopefully it's good. Hopefully it's good. Because I'm not saying part 1 of the Kalos Villain Arc units are like bad or whatever, because like, holy crap, this is like legitimately like one of the top units in the game. But again, it's just 2 units, 1 spotlight, 1 Pokefair, which is not too much in terms of like heavyweight banners, right? So we definitely are interested in seeing what's happening part 2 of the Kalos Villain Arc. So we'll see, but also do keep in mind, like right after it, we should be getting into the 3.5 year anniversary as well. So gonna be a crazy stretch of months, man, all the way from December, January, February, and March is going to be a crazy stretch of 4 months, which we also had last year as well, right? Which is, you know, why thankfully we didn't get too much in November. That we did get a bit of a down month. Not that like the units are terrible, because you know, Siswali's great, right? The 2 fall units are all fine and all, or not even fine, all really, really nice as well. So we'll see. Very, very excited to see what we get here. Personally, if you were to ask me, post, if you could do whatever, right, what would you do for Kalos Villain Arc Part 2? Personally, right, I'm not saying this is what's gonna happen. What I would want to see is an AZ Master Fair with Float and a Valerie alt with something that's not just atrociously bad. Maybe, I don't know, just give her like the same Pokemon but like shiny, just because like people love this pairing. I don't even know, like what else could they pair Valerie with? I already did my like video outro like 2 minutes ago and I'm still going. I'm sorry, this is what happens when I'm on meds. Let's see. She has Slurpuff, right? Oh no, never mind. Although low-key would be cool. Oh, I'd love to see someone have Slurpuff. Slurpuff is a very, very underrated Pokemon. I low-key really like Slurpuff and Aromatisse, or however you pronounce it. Those are they're underrated Pokemon, man. Okay, no, it's just freaking Mawile and you know Sylveon over. You know what? Yeah, shiny Sylveon or shiny Mawile. Although I prefer Sylveon because like we already have a really good Mawile. let's get a really good Sylveon too. Okay. You know, pretty popular Pokemon. Look, man, it's an evolution. Evolutions are going to. I was about to say are going to sell, but then I remember that like basically no one pulled on that triple evolution banner that we got last year. Okay, maybe not, but like shiny Sylveon and Valerie with hopefully a great outfit because she's an outfit designer. People are gonna love that, man. People are gonna love that. And also I would also like a Lysander alt with Volcanion and Sycamore alt with I don't even care. Magiarna maybe. You know what? If I were to do it, I'd have 4. Although that's probably not happening because like 4 Villain Arc units and then 2 Palatine's unit for next month is like 6 units, which is that just does not really happen. So yeah, don't get your hopes up too high. Remember the average amount of Stumble units a month is like 4, so it's gonna be 2 Palatine's units plus 2 more, right? And if one of them is Malva, then look, nothing against Malva. It's just like she's just most likely gonna be a Spotlight, and like, which is nothing wrong about Spotlights inherently. It's just be like a bit slightly underwhelming if like this Villain Arc has like 4 units in total and half of them are Spotlights and like no Masters. That would be kind of, you know. Anyways, all right. Yeah, it's probably like 7 minutes after my freaking outro, but have fun. I love you guys, and yeah, I don't know. Just do whatever I said in the previous outro. Let me know what you guys think is gonna happen in part 2 in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Oh, okay. I know this video is like almost 40 minutes long, which I do apologize for. But one super last thing. Like literally, as I stopped recording, Runner mentioned that like Lysander's JP name is this Fleur Dari or whatever, which is funny because Magiarna's signature move, obviously, Fleur Cannon. could it be? And you know, considering Lysander wants to weapon destroy world stuff, also fits. So could that be a possibility? That could also be a possibility. And one other thing which I forgot to mention, that I was thinking about as well. I guess another option that they could release would be Emma, considering she's in the game and also a big part of the story so far. I do feel like she's probably more Spotlight-y than anything else, because I mean, like, her boss Looker is a Spotlight. So, but anyways, all right, 2 super last things to put in there. Anyways, all right, see you guys.